Welcome to CathyDSlaught's SRC4u Zoom call for August 18th, 2021. We're here on Cathy's website, CathyDSlaght.com. We'll scroll down, we'll look for the Zoom banner, and where it says click here, we'll click there to join the Zoom call. The Zoom call is a demonstration of the SRC4u software. Cathy has loaded up her client list, and this is how she does her presentations for the SRC4u software. If you'd like to be part of her client list, click here, and it's a monthly fee. Not everything you see on the demonstration, as she does things on the back end with her client list, like run a daily list and things like that. So we'll click here to join the call. This will take us over to the Zoom platform, where I'm going to open the Zoom platform. It will be in progress. We're going to join with audio.
Let me get started here. I'm glad y'all are here. I'm going to first, we had not finished the work, as you can see, with the heart. And so we had started with the top areas out of all of the points related to the heart. Let's just go ahead and see where we are with that right now. As you know, this is so subtle, and we've been working on it with this P4, which I'll share a few things that came to light yesterday also. But we're looking pretty good there, aren't we? Let's just go ahead and think we can just move forward. Let's see where we are before we hit the wonder click first and just see where we are. And I have a few things to share. All right, so if we look, what I realized yesterday, I woke up with a terrible sore throat, which thank goodness morphed into a bad cold, which made me think I was probably purging it. But what I noticed, I didn't want any Pro Tools. I wanted 3 P4s. So that tells you how powerful this can be. And also, Kevin mentioned gargling with salt water, which I did, and then I talked with someone else. Apparently a dentist in Tampa is offering a test for $175 to show you what pathogens are in your mouth. And the question was, well, once you find out what are the pathogens, what do you do? And he said gargle with hydrogen peroxide. So why spend $175? How about just gargling with hydrogen peroxide? So I did that too throughout the day. And I want to share a few other things too that I learned. Let's see, first of all, now that we've got this going, we were still going with the heart information. Let's just see.
Hey, Cathy.
Yeah.
When you go back to the first screen, can you go up to the very first one? I can't remember what it said right now, but I have no idea what that means. It was 100%.
Yeah, let's go back up.
10 window in the sky.
Yeah, window in the sky points.
I don't know if anybody else, Kevin, are you able to educate us a little on that? If not, I can text Ralph and he will give us.
You have it in there. You've got it in your cocktails, and I just sent it on the chat text.
Okay, we have the cocktail, but what exactly? Oh, is the definition in the cocktail?
It's 10 points. You'll see it.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah. So what happened yesterday, as you saw, we really don't need any more work related to the heart in that stress point right now. And we also see how powerful this is. Let's just see if we want anything else here related to the I can type.
If you could read what you're typing, that will keep people.
Yeah, sorry. Priority for Qi startup session. And we'll actually take that. That's interesting. So often with the upgrade, we don't need to do as many of these things, but let's go ahead and do it. So, well, this doesn't give me in here. This is the startup session. All right, we'll just leave it at that right now. Priority for Qi startup session emotional. Okay, and then priority for Qi frontal lobe cocktail. No. And priority for Qi nerves cocktail. Nope. So, let me share a few things from yesterday. Excuse me. Someone sent me this YouTube, and I'll send it out today. This is a Greg Braden YouTube, and it's a little over an hour, but the synchronicity of it coming yesterday, it really gave me some thoughts, and I want to share those thoughts and put them into a little bit of energy today. So I'll give you the cliff notes, and then if you have time to listen to it, it's quite interesting. What he talked about is that, and I'll follow this as I go, but the only limitations we have are when we choose to be limited. And Neville Goddard, who may be the best I've ever listened to on anything related to all this, talked about the soul being our power to choose as mankind. And we've said before, there is no gadget, there is no man-made gadget that comes anywhere close to the power of the human system, which is what Greg Braden is going to up here. We have a few codes as we went along. Let's look at Thrive. We are here to thrive. Let's see how we resonate at this moment in time. A little bit of a chronic stress there at that 98. Let's just go ahead and he talks about relieving stress at the genetic level. I'm not sure it was him that talked about this somewhere. I listened to, of course, when you're sitting in your chair all day, a few YouTubes, but that and in the bed. So, but we can weave with the SRC. In other words, we can add so many different types of protocols, like the codes of court of atonement. I don't know if anybody checked any further on that, but we can add that and run it in the SRC, etc. We can work with any modality. But one of the things I was listening to was thought-provoking. It said, no evidence to date has found memory stored in the brain. We download our identity from the surrounding energy. So in other words, what we're doing here in working with the virtual QiGong, that it may be the whole key, because that's where all the information is we're pulling in, and that's what the Chinese discovered as they worked, with the manual. And then what Greg Braden went ahead to say in his work, we are so advanced and we have our self-regulatory system that no other art of creation has. And he says when we give this away, our body begins to atrophy. And what it made me think of was back in my early days of real estate, I had every phone number memorized. My own assistants would call me to give them phone numbers for my clients because it was just in my head. Now, with our cell phones and holding all those numbers, do you think I can memorize any numbers? Not many, not very many at all. So you get into perhaps the thought of vaccines and the idea that we may be actually losing our own ability to heal ourselves. And he mentions that in this, the COVID pandemic is pushing us to understand that the human body is not a flawed organism. And we do not need to build things outside of ourselves to achieve our greatest potentials. It's all within us. Just like when we work with the SRC, remember the healer is you. It's not the machine, but the machine can help, but it's not the healer. The healer is you. He talks about the power of this human technology we have. No other technology comes close. We know that, but we have an ability to self-regulate that technology. And we may have gone the wrong way with man-made technology. He gave the example, I didn't know this, that we can now edit genes in a fetus. So I started playing around for a code to recharge our self-regulatory system. We know about our cells, all these things. And I did find one. Where'd we go? Self-regulate consciously at will. Let's see how we look with that. And remember that working with the energy, that's the key. Okay, so we got a little stress with that one. It's interesting that the sustenance balancer came up because that, I've learned just in the past few months, is so much more of a powerful tool than I had realized. So you could take that code, for example. Let's just do it. And I yesterday went down the list, and what I was doing for myself was sending the energy of an antibiotic. It looked like I had something bacterial going on. And so I went down the list and sent it to all that stuff, all that food, all that water, etc., etc. And I also went into the recharger. And again, we're working on a subtle level. Let's put this in here. For now, and later I'll add the image. Let's just see how we look with that. You can take any of these codes and add it this way to your energy field. You're really not adding it. You're clearing any stress that might keep it from coming in. It's already there. We'll do that. You can supercharge yourself, field generator. These are the things we're asking for today. And this is the other thought. Again, this group pretty much knows this. What we create out there is telling us something about ourselves. We're supposed to learn from it. And he talked about some of the things going on in the world right now. And he said at the end, there may be two groups. And we're going to have to look and say which group is happier, which group is more fulfilled. Because there's two such separate standards of values, it seems. And he said, this is again back to the Greg Braden, we're going to be looking at, he thinks what is most fulfilling will be the fundamental human values. Family, spiritual, etc. Obviously, optimal health, these are all, and so let's just douse that in. We're talking about the sovereignty of the human body, and this is an example of the technology. For example, in Japan, they are now actually having sexual relations online. They have figured out ways to do that. I can't imagine what's involved, but as a result, the fertility rate has gone way down. Because when they do choose to get together on the physical plane, nothing works. And that is kind of the same with the pornography. With, so many people watching pornography, they find that they aren't potent. They're suffering. They can't have sex when they have an opportunity to have it. So that's just another interesting thought, that you can get so much into technology that your own gifts can atrophy. Remember who we are. This was his biggest point, is that we are miraculous beings. We may need a little extra stress management related to that. A lot of people are afraid of that. They're afraid of their own power. And so, again, we just look for some codes. And by the way, in this Greg Braden, the Sophia code is mentioned. So any of you that are interested in the Sophia code, and you listen to that, you'll hear that brought up. Rejuvenate. And then he talked about, you can also remember, because you have this system set in place to regulate your entire, well, for one thing, for sure, physical being, but beyond, you can make a choice. For example, in this moment, I choose to create a stronger immune system. This is what we have forgotten, that we have this kind of power. I did a lot of work for myself with this yesterday. Let's see where we are with this. All right. Look at this right here. In this moment, I choose to awaken my longevity enzymes, or any other choice you wish to make. And again, Goddard talked so much about the power of choice. Again, I think we're looking pretty good. Now, he talked also about the fact there is a battle to control our beliefs. And that's true. You just have to turn on some of the mainstream media and see that. And we do know that that's a very trance creating medium with all the images. So I just looked in here, and there was a code when the personal belief battle, just for the heck of it. Let's see how we look. There you go. This was a really interesting one too, our biological potential. And that we have it all. We just need to realize it. And that would be one. For example, you could go into the yes therapy. And let's just raise awareness. And while we're back here, you don't need to call for it in the Pro Tools. Let's go ahead also, let's wait a minute. Let's add a chakra. Laura, when she's back on Friday, I think is preparing us a chakra cocktail also, because I think we all know the energy, and that starts perhaps with your chakras. That's the whole deal. Let's clear all non-beneficial energies. What we've got here, 19 hours. We're just going to work our way up the system, and there are some chakras we're not familiar with that there are some write-ups on. This is the other thing, our neurons. We want that. There's actually been some stress on the neurons based on all of the technological information out there that may be trying to interfere with our own capability. Let's just take a look. And he talked about it as win the battle for humanness, because there is no technology superior to our humanness. And then I put in here, for the heck of it, block the insertion of non-beneficial computer code into human cells, as he did talk about that. I didn't see any kind of, I really didn't go any further into it, but for the heck of it, let's just see where we are with that. So as a group, okay, this is, I don't have a code for this, but I want you to be aware there is a respiratory infection going around, which is highly contagious. It turns out, I did not know that. Someone else texted me this information. This was the diagnosis Doc did have from the VA.
I think that's what I had from my friend.
It's very possible, and so there's nothing wrong with having the awareness of it. We don't need to focus on it. And remember, again, our own biological potential, what's in there. The other thing that really helped me is going into the recharger, and I literally went down, starting with full body, and recharged. And the biggest one for me, which actually is still going, is adrenals. And I wanted 19 hours. And so we are in times, here I am working every day with stress management, and yet had a few shocks to my system that really dropped that. So with all this in mind, let's see where we are. All right, and this was, I guess, some of the best news I've had in a long time was when Kevin pointed out something so many of us didn't know, that you have in the theme box the situation, the stress, and in the option box what might be the correction. So we've got the information there. Let's just look. Stress related to mental. Let's just look at it. Again, it may not be a negative. Sometimes we have to have a little stress to wake us up. But let's just douse that down. Well, that didn't work.
C, potassium, and the antioxidant
So maybe thinking too much. For example, in reference to this block mass distractions, it took a couple of times. We finally, the second time, did do a little clearing on that. Let's go on down. I'll do one a day. But has anybody thought about the fact that all this stuff going on related to Afghanistan might be a distraction from something else?
Indeed.
And so let's just go ahead. What I'm going to do is focus on our great potential to create and go from there.
Also, with regards to Afghanistan, I got to hear some intel yesterday, and what is going on over there and what is being relayed to the American people are two different stories.
I would not be surprised.
So don't believe
I've
anything.
heard that also.
Now you see here, in reference to our state, there's some misalignment. This is for yourself. If you have the software, just go. This is what I do for myself. I'm going to go in. So this is the group. Obviously, is a little different, but priority chiropractic appointment, just for the heck of it. See, the other thing which I've mentioned, and you can probably find these pretty inexpensively now. Okay, so that's high enough that it might be worthwhile. I've mentioned these before, the Migun bed, M-I-G-U-N, which gives a little alignment and acupuncture and massage all at the same time. It's a Korean product. Here you see we are wanting to work on our chakras. Let's just see. Okay, so our software is taking care of it, but we see we have the information. Then for the system, the endocrine in reference to the skeletal hypothalamus. There's the adrenals. We did not ask for the acupoint panel today, but you get your information. That's just for the heck of it. Let's just put adrenal stress, since that did come up. Passive aggression and projection. So in reference to projection, remember who the creators are. It's we with our consciousness. And we don't want to be picturing all these terrible outcomes. And also, probably whatever irritates us most is something within us. And so that's a rather complex issue. People are seething. Again, remember about this mass distraction stuff. Stress factor, kidney, which might be related to fear. We're working with that in reference to the chakras. Words to ponder in the theme box. Striving for excellence motivates you. Striving perfection is demoralizing. Okay, that's true. America is a country where half the money is spent buying food and the other half is spent trying to lose weight. Well, there might be another thing we're spending a lot of money on that we might look into at another point. I won't go into it today. Mind, dismay, conscious, beaten down, or over here griped is what we need to work on. Superconscious, absurd, absorbed, rebalance after a nightmare, and come back into enthusiasm. I have just something to show you in just a minute in reference to that. And then we've got a stress related to addiction. And here, of course, then that impacts the spleen and pancreas. And we're probably going to go into addiction as a topic soon, because that's what a lot of us are tuning into, whether it be addiction to food or other substance or certain habits. But I went ahead and made a change. I can find it in here. Okay, I may not be able, I don't think I can pull up my email. Maybe I didn't. Let me see what we've got here. Yeah, we had in here some things from the last email. I added a few things to that, and I'll email that out if you feel like setting your session up with these. But one of them is joy. And so with all this potential we have, and I added the biological stuff and all that, what is a key is joy. Now, as a group, we're doing good. Look at that. That is our key, that enthusiasm and joy, which sometimes is hard to come by. And again, it's hard to block these mass distractions. We're not quite resonating. Now, we're aware of that. Might be willing to take another look at it. Taking 3 minutes with 5 repeats in reference to adrenal stress. I don't know if you all can see all these. Can you see these cocktails in here when you do it this way? And I don't know if you can or not. How about, for the heck of it, here's a prayer for our leaders. Any objections to putting that in the field generator?
They need it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's see what we're taking. 5 hours.
How about one to OS?
What's that?
The truth.
Oh, I'm not wearing my little hat here. Wait a minute. I did not. Sorry about that. I did not hear you, Susan. What was it?
The news outlets.
The sound is breaking.
Yeah, she's breaking up.
It does help if you first remember to put on the headset and then you remember to plug it in.
Yeah, it wouldn't help, Cathy. We can't hear it either.
Okay. Well, there we go. Yeah, okay.
I put mine in now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear. I can hear you. What were you saying?
Okay. Now everybody knows that the news outlets are not being honest.
That's correct.
Is there anything we could do to unmask the media, to take the veil off the eyes of the people that are giving us the news?
Anybody have any thoughts? I have some thoughts, but anybody have some thoughts?
I'd like to hear them.
I think unmask the media is an excellent.
I do too. Let me show you. You know, we've talked about these grab-avoid codes, and the idea, we have a code, of course, as a group, which was block mass distractions. But you can scan. I've been scanning myself once a week to see what code I wanted, and it's actually, if I got to choose consciously, I'd be picking different things. But the scan is interesting. I'm going to show you the scan that I requested this week. Hope it's in here. If it's not, if it's in my other computer, yeah. Well, I'll have to find it. It's in the other one. I'll email it, but it is a code. And if you look in the Grab-A-Void, there are plenty of codes, but it was to reveal to the people.
You had that in there. It was said reveal the media.
But I don't think that's not quite it.
Oh, okay.
That one is a little bit more harsh.
Yeah, that looks interesting.
Yeah, I mean, this is not it, but this is one that's in there. So I'll put it in when I do this email thing out today. The other thing, now this is just a thought. All of us, if this energy stuff is even remotely correct, we probably are all in different dimensions. So think about that. And what I do for me, if I get a YouTube, I go in and put validity, and I put it in, or validity of information. And that's what initially got me started on this vaccine stuff, is when I got the information, it tested out as valid for me. So I think that would be it. This SRC, the more you use it with this dowser, for me anyway, the more accurate it has been. And also still, and this is what we know, but just it bears repeating, do not focus on what you don't want, because you're creating it.
That is correct.
That's pretty heavy. That's like don't think of pink elephants.
Well, it's the biggest thing I always saw with this was illness. That when people had an illness, they constantly were talking about it. And we have to be aware, obviously. We have to know what's going on, but then you don't want to focus on it. But it looks to me like there's plenty of things we are focusing on that we could do without focusing on.
Can I have a question?
Yeah.
I was doing fine till I went to the oncologist yesterday.
Oh Lord, yeah.
So how do you undo the things they say that knock you for a friggin' loop?
I mean, you got a good point. Yeah, you got a good point. There'll probably be some other suggestions also, but anytime a thought of what they said came in, chant your code.
Which?
Well, we might want to do another scan.
Okay.
Or just pick one. Remember, the scan is just information. The sovereignty lies within us. So just pick one. Or we can scan. I'd be glad to do a scan for you as well. And
you need to get rid of your implants. That every time you hear a doctor,
yes,
or an authority figure, so you implant it into your mind. So you need to just.
I hate it. I was feeling so great till after that, and it just may as well hit me over the head with a brick bat, you know.
I always make a point and say, subconscious, don't you accept that?
If I could share something, ever since Cathy showed us how to do the pinky and the ring finger into the palm, and then the middle index and the thumb, and you click them together going cancel, cancel, cancel. Well, I added like a swooping of my hand clear, and then I start thinking positive thoughts. So with regards to going to the doctor, you just put it in the palm of your hand, go cancel, 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 clear, and start thinking good things. Remember, we can manifest. So you think about how beautiful your body is, how everything's working, everything's healed, and so on and so on and so on. So that's maybe something to consider as well.
Yeah, I'll have to get a little more explanation on that technique, but thank you very much.
That came from Ralph too. That didn't come. That was Ralph that shared that. And you know, my philosophy is, what does it hurt? And you can do so much with your shin and the Gong. So we can put, for example, just because our doctors seem to also be victims of implants. Remember who has educated them. It is the pharmaceutical system. When Rockefeller came out, however many years it was ago, and offered, I believe it was $10 million to schools, but he wanted to stay in the staff. And the only universities that did not accept that offer, they're gone. And so your doctors, except for those, because we are in an awakening, they can't really do this. We are awakening. But so many, I listened to one YouTube, and it had high validity, and it was on ivermectin. I'm happy to put it in our notes if you want to see it. And they they adamantly said, and this was done by a physician, if your doctor refuses to prescribe ivermectin, get another doctor.
And
the information out there is there and it's valid, but what's happening, according to what I'm listening to, if any kind of scientific study is done that refutes the information from the pharmaceutical industry, it's just not funded. So most of your studies are actually done and funded to push us in a certain direction.
And if I could interject, I was on a phone call last night with Baker's Green Acres, Mark. He uses the ivermectin, the animal version, the horse, the paste, and he takes 1 cc anytime. His nose is very, as he put it, distinct. And if he so much as smells something that he doesn't like and he feels it come onto his body, he'll take 1 cc, he said, of ivermectin, the horse paste that apples.
We can't recommend that, though. We could get in terrible trouble.
Oh, I'm not recommending.
What said. Yeah, right.
Oh, I'm not recommending.
You have to do it at the very get-go. The doctor I'm getting mistletoe from says you have to do it at the very get-go for it to really be super effective.
Yeah, and I'm just sharing the information
Yeah,
because I thought it was...
Let me share a little bit too, which might be interesting to some of you. You can also go in and recharge the whole body. And I don't know if I have the image of ivermectin in here or not. I don't. I have it in the other one. But you can actually do that because remember, this is all etheric. And we're working with the energy, which, as it turns out, is the whole deal. Each of our cells is surrounded by little antennas pulling in the energy. So when you work with QiGong, whether it's virtual or otherwise, that's actually what you're doing is pulling in the energy. Let's just see for fun. I don't have the code up here or the image. But we're taking a couple hours. I'm not going to do it, but it gives you some thoughts. It's the ivermectin is prophylactic. It seems to serve a purpose. And at the very least, we can educate ourselves. And that's what that neuron stuff is all about, is so many will not look. That's the whole deal with science. It was supposed to be the whole deal. You take something you absolutely do not believe, and then you study it to prove it wrong. That was what it was supposed to be. What happens now is we refuse. If we don't believe it, we just won't look. I'll share one last thing. I heard a weird thing last week in a YouTube. I don't know if I'll ever have time to go in and look further or not, but they were talking about polio. And of course, we're so thankful for the polio vaccination. However, in what I was listening to, they said what it really was DDT. Polio came from DDT. So I thought, wow, that's something. That right there would change so much dogma. We don't know that it's true. But can you imagine if that turned out to be true?
Yeah.
Well, I had heard on that they didn't go through with the trials properly on that. They rushed it out there too fast, and it was the cause for many, many, many people of cancer.
Yes, I've read that as well. Well, even with our corona vaccine, and this is something I don't understand why people don't know this, but many don't. All the lab animals died, and here's how they died. They gave them the vaccine, nothing particular there, but then they re-exposed them. Their immunity was impacted. They 100% died. And I think a lot of people don't know this. So the key with again, remember our self-regulatory system. We can change, I believe, even this, but we have to focus on our immunity if we've gotten the vaccine. And this is an example. You don't hear that on the mainstream news, do you?
Absolutely not.
No.
Did you all know it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But, most of us read
Yeah.
different things than the general public reads. So, a highly, a big secret, I would say. They try to keep those things a big secret.
I would say so too. And so many. I had dinner a few weeks ago with a couple of friends, and we were talking about misinformation. And I mentioned the pharmaceutical industry giving misinformation, they paled. They paled. They're like, oh no, they couldn't take it. And so there's a lot of things, a lot of dogma out there that we're hooked on that maybe we need, and not so much us in this group, but just the mass consciousness.
One call I listened to last night, they're zeroing in, and most of these doctors and nurses and stuff that have given the jab are all going to be arrested for treason. It's really serious. Like there are many that are actually leaving the profession because they understand the seriousness of what they've been that's been put upon them. So it's going to come around and really bite them, because I've heard they get 182,000 for every death.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I know that with that lung infection, they're calling it COVID because then there's another amount of money involved.
Yeah,
it's not COVID, yeah.
Cathy, I got one of the people that I'm working with, a lady, and she has COVID-19. They say COVID-19 and pneumonia. So.
And you have the Pro Tools, don't you, Ron?
Yes.
I would be going in and doing innate immune response. You could do self-regulatory, all those different things. I didn't send it. I emailed it, but if I go to my email, I'm going to lose you. So I'll pull that up and put some of the new things you can send in along with what goes out today. But I'm real impressed personally with what we can do with that sustenance balancer. I feel like that is a huge factor for me yesterday, even though the Pro Tool thing said just do 3 P4s. I think there's some real power to sending ourselves some information with the sustenance balancer also. And then, like we talked about with Marty, let's work with these codes. I don't know that we're going to end up passing out flowers on the street, but flowers aren't bad. If that's the worst thing that comes from it. Anything else?
Back to the 60s will be all the flower children.
Well, you know, I was talking with someone else this morning, and she's going back to reading books from the 1800s, which somehow she has. She's very blessed. And she says there had been such a spiritual revival. We're able to get rid of that. They did come out with all this supposed scientific information, etc., to get rid of it. But she said the next spiritual revolution actually was in the 60s. And of course, they did everything they could to dampen that. Yeah. They're just sharing. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's just some thoughts.
Yeah.
So that's it, I guess, you guys, for today. I'm glad to be back and see you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Cathy. Another great session.
We'll have a good day.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you.
All righty. Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
This concludes the SRC4u Zoom call for August 18th, 2021. Thank you for attending. We look forward to seeing you again. Till then, take care and be well.